13 mitigator Ford Fusion. I'd like to thank you for listening to Let's Talk Racing.tv.
Denny Jr., driver of the number 5 Kiker Motorsports Camry. Welcome to Let's Talk Racing TV.
With Rockingham Speedway. Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Racing.
I'm Tony Stewart, driver of the number 17 Toyota in the NASCAR Camp World Truck Series, and you're listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Hey guys, I'm Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bain, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, this is Dylan Smith. I'd like to thank you for listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, I'm Amber Colvin, and I'd like to thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Still silly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Who's that, you, Al? That's you ringing, Al. Welcome to Let's Talk Racing. We're already in a frazzle. We've got Cliff Daniels on the line right now with us.
Hey, Thomas, I'm on radio right now. Can I call you back later? You call me. Call me.
Hey, Cliff, how you doing?
Don't mind. Okay, bye. That's Pope Thomas.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Thomas Pope.
See the one you were waiting to call?
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, Cliff, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
All right. We were just discussing before we came on the air the fact that you guys went from Daytona straight to Phoenix, probably came back home, went back to Las Vegas, and now you're back at Bristol this weekend. You go back to California next weekend. Does that make a whole lot of sense to you, or are you allowed to say anything about the travel schedule?
Well, you know, it's funny, kind of like we were just discussing. It's a lot of back and forth. It does seem silly at times, but I think if NASCAR, you know, kind of like Al mentioned a second ago, if NASCAR had it 3 West Coast weekends in a row, you know, that'd be a lot for the fans to keep up with. It'd be a lot for the teams to keep up with. So, you know, it does get kind of tough going back and forth from Phoenix to Vegas and then East Coast and back out to the West Coast for Fontana. But, you know, this time of year, everybody kind of knows it's going to be busy. We do everything we can to prepare over the winter for this, you know, stretch of the first 5 weeks of the season. You know, then we get a little break right before Martinsville and kind of get ourselves caught up, get a little sleep for once, you know, and then get ready for the summer grind.
A lot of people are saying that it will not be until probably Texas, the middle of April, before you guys have got a real handle on these new cars. Daytona was kind of a one-off. We knew Daytona was not going to be a great test. Phoenix we knew wasn't going to be a great test. Vegas was a pretty good test. You got a little bit of feedback there.
Yep.
Bristol will not be a great test of the new car. California will be, and Texas will be. Is that kind of how y'all are looking at things?
Yeah, I'd say so. We did a lot of testing over the winter, whether it was like track testing at Nashville. You know, obviously there was the new car test at Charlotte. We've also done a lot of our own simulation development, rig testing. You know, trying to get our heads wrapped around this thing and understand, you know, the mechanical balance versus the aero balance differences this year versus previous years. And I'd say that estimation of teams really getting a handle on it by Texas would be fairly accurate. You know, Daytona, everybody had, I feel like, a fairly balanced speedway package. And, you know, we saw good racing there, probably not quite the packs that everyone would have liked to have seen. You know, then you go to a short track like Phoenix. You know, the racing there was good. I tell you that the car still showed some very aero-dependent characteristics. which were a little bit to keep up with, on our side of things, how to balance the grip, mechanical grip versus aero, the handling of the car. So, going into Vegas, I'm not going to say it was a shot in the dark. We did as much prep and as much testing as we could, but it was definitely a big learning experience for us, kind of opened our eyes to some of the adjustments we need to make to our package just to accommodate, the new car. I feel like, obviously Hendrick Motorsports and Gibbs showed their hand fairly well. And I think we're going to be able to feed off some of our own findings. Plus, we have a very close relationship with Hendrick Motorsports to, kind of bounce some ideas off of them, see what they've been working on, and make our package home better, like you said, to Fontana, to Texas. That's, very centered around our team perspective, but I would imagine throughout the garage, that's going to be, pretty similar.
Well, with you now with Tony Stewart and working with Steve Addington, how much input do you have as far as the changes and stuff that are made on the car?
Well, we've actually got a really interesting dynamic. Our whole team works together very, very closely. Very fortunate to have the group of guys that we have. A lot of depth of experience and knowledge. In terms of my personal role working with Steve and with Tony, I'm very close. Steve and I and our other engineer, Chris, we communicate very regularly throughout the day, always bouncing ideas off each other, working on certain projects. And, Steve has the resources, the personnel that crew chiefs need, and you've got to rely on that. You have to depend on the feedback and the information that the people, the systems that we have in place can provide. So he does rely on us as his race engineers to give them that information. In our debriefs with Steve and with Tony, we take in as much information as we can to try to match, our setups to Tony's driving style. Daily at the shop, and then of course very much so at the track. I stay very involved.
Cliff, do you work strictly with Tony, or are you with all three of your drivers?
I'm very strictly with Tony. My title technically is the 14 team race engineer.
Okay.
Our company is very unique in that we try to operate as one team that kind of fields three vehicles, which is pretty cool. We work very hand in hand with the 39 group, Matt Borland, Ryan Newman, those guys. The 10 group, which is Tony Gibson and Dan Kirkpatrick, all their engineers, all their crew, everybody that really comprises Stewart Haas Motorsports. We've got a pretty unique team. It's been a blessing for me to go there and to be able to see this, to have this opportunity and experience. So again, specifically me, it's all 14 teams, but our company as a whole works very, very closely.
Yeah. Now, I've known your mom and dad for years and wrote about your dad when he raced at Langley and won championships back in the day. Tell us briefly, or in some detail, whichever, how you got started, where you went. I mean, you're from the Tidewater area, where you went to school. Kind of bring us from, age 10 or 12 or 14 to where you are now, because people may wonder, Cliff, how do I get to be what he is, and tell people how they can become what you are.
Well, of course, and it's a good question, and racing at first was something that my dad did for a long time. So we grew up around Langley Speedway, Southside Speedway. Just going to participate at the race weekend with him, and that was a really cool experience for my whole family. The four of us were very close together, and by the time I turned 8, I really got the itch, the racing bug. By then, my dad hadn't driven in just a couple of years. So we got a Bandolero car, started racing down in Charlotte, progressed to Legends cars, traveled around quite a bit racing there in that series, and then moved up to late models when I was, I guess I was 15 or 16. Started racing late models around Langley, Southside, South Boston, Southern National Speedway, ran some UARA late model races. So for me, for a long time, it was all about my driving career and being a up and coming aspiring driver, learning at the tracks that we needed to learn, getting the experience, meeting the people, learning the cars. During the time I went to a high school, Hampton Roads Academy, in Newport News, Virginia. So I got to balance school as long as you can do well in school and give that same amount of work ethic towards your schoolwork. So I was very fortunate to have their support with that. Graduated Hampton Roads Academy, went to UNC Charlotte, got my mechanical engineering degree in 4 years. That was a big challenge, but one that I'm very thankful for, but with a lot of support and encouragement from my parents. And, again, I was racing late models and going to college all at the same time. Then shortly after graduating college, we didn't exactly have the means to keep going the direction that many drivers' careers go, whether a different step in NASCAR like the E Series or another step like ARCA. We just couldn't do it. So I started getting to know some guys around the Nationwide and ARCA garage. I actually worked for a guy who is now Jeff Gordon's spotter, Eddie DeHunt. I worked for his team just as a general mechanic, just to get my foot in the door for a couple of years. And that was a valuable time because kind of coupled with the mechanical engineering degree, having the hands-on experience with the cars, meeting the people, getting to know the flow of the NASCAR garage area, that helped me out a lot. Then I spent the last 2 years as the race engineer for RAB Racing on the 99 Nationwide car. Kenny Wallace was our full-time driver, and then actually last year we had a rotation of quite a few different drivers. Scott Stipadelli was the crew chief that I worked with, and his brother Greg, who is now the competition director, and Stuart Haas, kind of got to know them, very well. And that is what led the door to open to this opportunity now with Stuart Haas Racing. And I've actually been here since December as the race engineer on the 14. So it's been quite a journey. I'm very blessed, very thankful. And I know that wasn't quite in a nutshell, but that's the bullet points on it.
Now people may think that your father is, your father is the Charlie Daniels. The other guy with the big white beard and the cowboy hat and the guitar, that's another Charlie Daniels, right?
That's right. So I hear.
Yeah, well, let's be sure that we get it right. The other Charlie Daniels will be at Bristol this weekend playing music, but he's not the real Charlie Daniels. Your dad, the real Charlie Daniels, is probably going to be back here in Hampton Roads watching on TV. So we want to get that straight.
There you go.
Now, let me throw in one last thing, and then others can take over. Your sister now, Tiffany, works at Ganassi, is that correct?
No, sir. She hasn't worked at Ganassi in about 2 years.
Okay, I knew she was there at one point in time. Is she still involved in racing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
She was with Ganassi for 3 years as a team engineer, working in the shop, and anytime that the cars went testing, she went to quite a few of their nationwide races. And then she made the move to get out of the engineering field, kind of into marketing and media. So for the last 2 years, she's spent doing that at various levels of racing, whether it be some local short track stuff or even all the way up into the higher NASCAR ranks. Her current job is actually working as an account manager for GMR marketing on the Lowe's racing account. So she oversees a lot of the ad track, media, and activation stuff for Lowe's Racing, specific to the 48 Cup cars. So actually, we get to hang out with each other quite a bit in the Cup garage area every weekend.
Okay, well, now, will she be at Bristol also, or do you know?
Well, she'll be there. She'll be at every race this year.
All right, tell her I'm gonna look both of y'all up this weekend because, like I say, I remember you kids when y'all were little bitty things. It seems like 15 or 18 years ago, y'all were hanging around, following your mom and dad around racetracks, and I got to know both of you then. I don't know that I would. It's been so long. I don't know that I'd recognize you now, but I'll bet you if I walk up to the hall or something, I can say, yeah, that's that little kid over there. And I'll say, wait a minute, that little kid's only 8 years old. Now he's 25 or 6, something like that by now?
24
okay,
years old, yes,
okay. Now, you must know Kevin Cunningham, don't you?
Yes, sir. Sure do.
Okay, because Kevin followed sort of your path. I think he went to Grafton or Tab maybe, and he went to UNC Charlotte and is working in Charlotte now in a non-automotive or non-racing business, and he is sort of trying to get into where you are now. So, so you and Kevin kind of followed a similar path.
Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing him at school and obviously knowing him from the racetrack and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize where he was working in Charlotte, but good for him. I hope he can get whatever he seeks.
Yeah, he also went to UNC Charlotte. I think he mechanical engineering or hydro, some kind of engineering degree, and
he was in quite a few of my mechanical engineering classes
Okay, there you go. Okay, good. Okay.
It was, but yep.
Well, that's good. You've done well, and you're making Tidewater proud of you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And, please don't hesitate to stop by in Bristol. I'll give Tips a heads up that you'll be around, and we'll be looking out for you.
Yeah, I'd love to see y'all again.
Yes, sir. Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Rogers, he got to go. Can we keep?
No, you can keep right on running.
I need to ask you one more question. I don't
You're
mean
in the
to be
racing
hogging
news
this thing.
section anyway.
I don't mean to be hogging this thing, but I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any solution to aero push? Is there any way NASCAR or teams or engineers or aerodynamicists can figure out a way that when you get within a car length or two or three from the guy ahead of you, your car doesn't start handling like a truck? Can it be done?
I'm going to give you a really, really smart aleck answer. And it's not going to be popular, but it's true. If they quit running 200 miles an hour, if they run 50 miles an hour, you're not going to have an aero push. Every year, the cars go faster and faster. And every year, we're seeking more and more downforce. And as long as the cars yearly continue on that same rate of increase in speed, there can be no solution.
You know who says that same thing, has been saying it for years, is Bruton Smith.
Yeah.
Bruton Smith says if we slow these cars down, and he threw out 8 or 10 or 12 miles an hour, he said take away a little bit of spoiler and make these people drive these cars instead of just aiming them, we'll have a whole lot better show.
Yeah, absolutely. And even sitting in the driver debriefs that we have, and I won't name the certain individuals that have said this, but they basically said, and I'd say that a lot of the drivers would tend to agree, put us in a bunch of rental cars, send us out on the racetrack, and we would put on one heck of a show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when the cars, I know for a fact that at Las Vegas we were hitting, over 206 miles an hour down both straightaways. I mean, that's remarkable for the cars, for the technology, for the direction the sport is going, but that's also an insane amount of speed. And to expect aerodynamics to not be involved is it makes no sense. To go that fast, it's always going to be involved. You get up behind somebody, and that's just how it's going to be.
It would be cheaper too, rental cars.
Yeah, it'd be a whole lot cheaper.
Yeah, it would be quite a bit cheaper for sure. Yeah.
Well, Cliff, do you have any aspirations of driving again, or you got any plans to drive? I know you drove the late model race at Southern National last year.
Yeah, I sure did. Driving is something that, to me, once I've had the experience that I've had, and it had such a passion for it, I don't know that it'll ever be fully extinguished. I was so happy and thankful to be able to run the late model race at Southern National back in the fall, and I can honestly tell you any opportunity that comes along, whether it's one that presents itself or one that I have to work to create to drive, I look forward to the day. And I'll be honest with you, whether it's a go-kart, a street stock, a late model, or any type of car, I won't turn it down, that's for sure.
Maybe we can go get a rental car race somewhere.
Just like Days of Thunder.
Yeah, we'll go to Avis and rent 10 or 12 cars.
That's right, full of Days of Thunder.
Yeah, right. Let you guys race on those things. I guess it must be, I guess with Tony, every day must be an adventure.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm using the word adventure in a positive note, because I imagine every day there's something different, and that's got to make it kind of fun. You wake up and say, what's going to happen now?
Well, of course, it's a blast, to be honest with you. You come to the track, and one thing a lot of people don't really get to see as much as the guys like us that work for him get to see. He's got a heart of gold. He's got a big heart. He loves sarcasm, loves jokes, cutting up with the guys, but he really enjoys the camaraderie that our team has of hanging out with us. And then as any champion would, he takes his job very seriously, and there's a lot of things that go along with that. And if you just look at the progression of his career and the direction that he's taken, he's become quite a champion on and off the track. Just in how he carries himself, how he presents himself, again to his team, and then fun to work with him. There's definitely never a dull moment. You know, we can try some stuff on the cars some stuff that works, and you get some really good feedback from him. You try some stuff that doesn't work, and the feedback's not quite the same. You know, it keeps it fun. It keeps it interesting.
I bet he gives you a good explanation of what's wrong.
Oh, he does. Sometimes. if the change is too bad and doesn't even warrant an explanation, he'll just say, all right, that didn't work. Let's not do that. You know, so it's fun.
Now, when he goes off and races at some of these other tracks that he does not under NASCAR, do you ever go with him just for the heck of it to see how things are going?
Yeah, when we were down in Daytona, we actually went to Volusia 2 different nights. And actually, it's funny how it was both nights that we were there, he didn't race. He had a driver fill in for him, but I know that when we were in Vegas this past week, you know, he raced some. Our guys, you know, we're all a bunch of racers. Everybody on our team, we enjoy going to the dirt tracks, the short tracks, just to be there and be involved. So anytime that our schedule allows us to get out of the garage early enough that we can, you know, take off up the road, go watch Smoke race, whether it's on a dirt track or a short track, we definitely take that opportunity.
4 or 5 years ago, I was at Watkins Glen for a weekend, and he showed up at a place called Black Rock Speedway up in upstate New York somewhere. Nobody knew he was coming. He had his wing sprint car. He showed up at a trailer that didn't have any writing on it, unloaded a car that had absolutely no decals except a number on it, and acted just like anybody else. Did not ask for anything special, didn't expect a prime parking place, didn't expect more hot laps than anybody else. Put on a great show, finished second or third to the track champion, I think, the way it was. And I was so impressed with the fact that here's a guy who could probably write his own ticket or ask somebody to write him a ticket, and he just wanted to race like everybody else without any big hoorah. And I would imagine when he goes to some of these little dirt track races and sprint car tracks and all, he really enjoys getting away from the media and the press and the pressure of having to be a champion and can just be a race car driver.
Well, it's funny you say that, and an expression that we use around our shop quite a bit is there's a difference between people that just work in racing and people that are racers. And all the racers will, you know, listen to this, and you guys will know the stark difference there. And Tony is one of those guys that from day one, he's been a racer. He's not just a driver out there either collecting a paycheck or doing it because, you know, it's just convenient, which sounds crazy to say, but Tony really is a unique racer in the fact that we went to lunch one day, our whole team did, when we were at Daytona, and he was describing to us, he said, guys, I tell you what, I'm going to be running over 100 races this year. This is the first time in a couple of years that I've done that between dirt cars, short track cars, you know, obviously, you know, his cup racing and any nationwide races that he'll run. And he was so excited just to tell us that he was going to be running over 100 races. And then we show up at Volusia County when we're down in Daytona, and just to see his composure and how much enjoyment he really does get out of being at these short tracks, not acting like a cup champion, but just acting like somebody that's a racer that wants to be there, that wants to compete. At the end of the day, if he wins, you know, he's going to be as thrilled about that victory as he would a cup win. And if he loses, he's going to be as disappointed as if he lost a cup race. You know, that's just the kind of racer, the kind of guy that he is.
I've got one last question, Cliff. I promise you this will be the end of my bill. When Tony takes you guys out to lunch, where can he go in Daytona without being hassled?
Well, actually, the truth of it was we were all not at a very public location.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there's actually times when we were in Vegas, he doesn't mind going out, and there's plenty of people that recognize him. There's plenty of people that want to take pictures and have autographs. He really does handle it well. And then there's places you go where he has the space and the freedom just to be him, and that's pretty neat,
Yeah, now I'm envious that you were in Phoenix and Las Vegas on back-to-back weekends because that's where you get those great In-N-Out burgers.
Oh, that's right. That's right. What a favorite for all the teams.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm just waiting for the day that they come east. I don't know if they ever will. I think right now In-N-Out Burger as far east as Dallas area, but I'm still waiting for them to come to Atlanta and take on the varsity hot dog people. But we'll see.
There's no telling. I know the crew guys always get so excited every time we go out west.
Oh yeah, yeah.
For that very reason.
Yeah.
Al does too. Let me tell you, that's all we ever hear from him.
They knock five guys right out of the water. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I know when you went out to In-N-Out Burger while you were out there, I know you had to feed Josh May. You know who Josh May is, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's that was quite a challenge to feed him. I think In-N-Out Burger was up for the challenge, though.
Well, I've been around Josh the last couple of years when he was with Phoenix Racing, and let me tell you something. He can eat.
Oh, there's no doubt. He's a fun guy to be around on our crew.
He's a crazy guy. I'm gonna tell you, he's something else.
A fun guy for sure.
Well, have we taken enough of his time, Roger? Can we let him go? Or
we can. We got 4 minutes of race news or whatever you want to do.
We got 4 minutes left?
Yeah, it's 4 minutes till 7:30 till the next one.
All right, well, let's let Cliff go, and I got something I want to say about Denny Hamlin.
Okay.
Cliff, appreciate you being on. I'm going to come see you. Now, I'm only going as far as Withville tomorrow night. My daughter's in college at Radford, and I want to stop by and visit her, but I'll be at Bristol bright and early Friday morning, and I'll come find you.
Excellent. Well, please do.
I will.
Seeing you.
Yeah, the next time I get to the shop, I'm gonna run you up down there too.
Absolutely. I welcome it.
All right.
Yeah.
Cliff, thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
Okay. Now, let me talk about Denny Hamlin.
I ain't gonna pay that fine.
Well, he is going to pay it.
I know he is, but geez.
That's the stupidest thing. That's the second dumbest thing he ever said.
What was the exact thing?
NASCAR will take the money from his purse winnings
yes.
if he doesn't pay it. So all this stuff about I'm not going to pay it is just so much hogwash.
Is it just
he did not say anything at all remotely worthy of what they did to him. Now, I'm not a big Denny fan. I remember him at Langley way back when, and he was an arrogant little punk back then. And to some degree, he's an arrogant big punk now. He's a hell of a driver, no question about it. I'm not a big fan of his, but he got royally screwed this time. All he said was, if you put me 30th on a restart, I'm going to finish 30th because you can't pass. Well, he started dead last.
Yeah.
Finished third.
Well,
he must have passed somebody.
Strategy and
but still, he passed two cars in the last corner. He went from fifth to third in the last turn. But NASCAR had absolutely. Now I'm wrong to say they had no right. They've got every right to do what they want to do.
Yeah, it's their sport. They can do what they want.
But right, it's their sandbox. They can do what they want. But they had no good reason to fine him for saying this car is not a whole lot better than last year's car. And the reason I say that is everybody in America watching on TV could tell it wasn't any better than last year's car.
Exactly.
If you watched the Daytona 500 a week before, you noticed it was way not better than last year's car. So for them to fine him for saying something that everybody could clearly see was just stupid. Now, he'll pay the fine. He'll race this weekend. Yeah. He might go through the appeal process.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would
and somebody might knock the fine down, excuse me, to $15,000 in probation or whatever. But they're going to get some money out of that young man or his team one way or the other. And I think it's just awful.
But he didn't say anything to me that even remotely brought this on.
No, of course not. Right.
It was totally ridiculous as far as I'm concerned how they handled it. And then to hear Pemberton talk that Thursday or Friday morning, whenever it was, when he come on and made his comments about, well, you can't go against the product NASCAR's putting out there. But how's it going to get any better if you don't say, hey, look, I got a problem here? Everybody has a different situation.
Well, what they wanted Denny to do was go to them in the hauler very quietly and say, you know, this car sucks, you know, or whatever, which is what Kyle Busch said about the car tomorrow, that first race at Bristol 6 years ago. So I'm defending Denny's right to say what he said. I'm defending the fact that he said what was clearly evident to everybody. And I think NASCAR really stepped in at this time.
I think they did.
And what, you know, the regular fan, the hardcore fan has kind of come to understand that and expect it. The casual fan, if there are any left, the casual fan must be thinking, my God, what kind of organization is this that finds a guy $25,000 for saying what is obviously the truth? So there you go. End of rant.
Push his line. Push speed. I told him we were fussing about the.
Let's talk racing.
Let's talk fines. Hey, Hal.
Hey, how's it going?
Got Al Pearce, Jack Dodson, and me hanging out here tonight.
How's it going, Hal?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. Just actually getting ready to go enjoy a little dinner here tonight down in Huntersville, North Carolina, and getting ready to head to Bristol tomorrow morning.
Well, how's your early season been so far?
So far, pretty good. I mean, you know, well, obviously we hoped we would have came out of Daytona a little bit better off than what we did, but that's speedway racing. I mean, you know, we had a pretty decent run going there, and in contention at the end, I have a really solid day, top 10 or top 15, and just got swept up in one of the crashes there late. So, you know, Daytona didn't pan out how we would have liked, and, you know, went on to Phoenix and Las Vegas and had two pretty solid weekends. Las Vegas, we got caught by the rain there for practice, so didn't have much time to get our American Custom Yacht Toyota Camry dialed in, but other than that, season's been going pretty good. Just a good solid start and looking better at every week.
Well, with the problems y'all had with the rain out there was something else. You only got 45 minutes of practice before the race. What kind of changes could you have made that in 45 minutes that was going to help you during the race?
You know, we really didn't make too many changes at all, to be honest. You know, we had 45 minutes of practice, but there was a crash actually early on in practice, and it took about 10 or 15 minutes to clean up. So we had actually less time than the 45 minutes. So I actually only had 12 laps total in that practice session. So in 12 laps, I had to you know, get a good feel for the race car for one, and the racetrack. I had never raced in Las Vegas, and this was my first time driving that particular chassis. So had to get a good feel for that, and we ran through a couple of changes, mainly just wedging the car, and that's all we basically dealt with. And I believe a little bit of you know, front suspension geometry for the front end, a little bit of rebound stuff, but really didn't get a chance to mess with much. So you know, my crew chief Greg Connor had us set up pretty well off the truck, and when the green flag dropped, we were ready to go from the get-go.
Well, don't tell him, but that's probably your first problem was Greg Connor. But don't tell him I said that.
Oh, come on.
No, I like Greg. Greg's a good guy.
Absolutely.
But so tell us, give us a little background on Hal Martin and where he came from and where he's going to.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm a South Louisianian, born and raised. I'm a Cajun from down in South Louisiana, just south of New Orleans. So that's where I grew up, and basically I grew up racing go-karts down in the south, the southeast, and you know, won some championships there and a lot of races. So you know, from there I moved up into the late model action, racing around the Gulf Coast, and cut my teeth in a full-size car there. And won a championship down at Mobile Speedway, as well as quite a few races. And after that, basically started going national. Did the ASA Touring Series a little bit, as well as the ARCA Racing Series. And I had a NASCAR Camping World Truck start back in 2009. And you know, when we got into the ARCA Series, it's when I really, I guess, really came into my own driving the full-size cars, and had some success really quickly out the gate in the ARCA Series, and that's what pretty much propelled my career forward. Racing the ARCA
Series for about 3 or 4 years on select number of races per year. And last year we decided to jump up to the Nationwide Series. We had a sponsor jump on board with us, an American Custom Yachts, some great supporters of mine, and they're back on board this year with us, as well as a couple of new sponsors. We have Ingersoll Rand and some of those partners that really make it happen for us and get us to the racetrack week in and week out. And now in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, obviously it takes a lot to get to the racetrack, and got a bunch of guys back at the shop at TriStar Motorsports to make it happen. So we have a pretty good package together. Obviously, we're not as well funded as some of those other teams, and we're always looking for sponsors to help us out. But we make do with what we have, and I feel like we have a pretty successful program all in all.
Now, Hal, your team, you had basically half of November, all of December, all of January, and part of February to get ready for Daytona. Then you had 3 or 4 days to get ready for Phoenix, and you had 4 or 5 days to get ready for Las Vegas, and you've had a week now about to get ready for Bristol. Is there any rhyme or reason to why you guys go from Daytona to Phoenix, probably come back home to the shop, I would think, or maybe not, go back to Vegas, come back to Bristol, and then go back to California next weekend? Is there any how tough is that on a small team?
We make it happen. And I mean, I'm not one to voice, to say why the schedule's like that. That's not my department. I don't know why they have the schedule set up that way, but our truck drivers are really sharp, and they stay on top of things early in the season like it is right now with that tough schedule. And logistically with air travel, it makes it a lot easier for the team members and the drivers, me and my teammates, to get to the tracks and back. But the truck drivers are the ones that really are busting their tails right now to make it all happen. And that we as our team, TriStar Motorsports, we all stayed on the road basically in between Phoenix and Las Vegas. So we brought cars that were suited. Basically, our backup car for Phoenix was our primary car for Las Vegas. So fortunately, we didn't have to use any backups. So we had our primary Phoenix car and our primary Vegas car ready to roll. So it wasn't an issue. But that is a tough part of the season, and it's early on. So,
but you turn around on what, Monday or Tuesday, and send your car back to California. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Right. We raced Bristol this weekend, and then I think the trucks are going to leave out Monday or Tuesday to head back to California. So, and we're going to be taking our same car from Vegas over to California. So basically, the guys are actually prepping it today and getting it ready for right when the trucks get back from Bristol to ship it back out to California.
Wow. That's a part of this business that I think fans are aware of the travel, but maybe don't appreciate how difficult it is. But you say in your case, you guys stayed out there between Phoenix and Las Vegas.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay.
And that makes it a little easier on everyone. It's a little less stressful. Now, obviously, the truck drivers especially. I know a lot of teams do that, and they'll send a third truck to swap cars out. But like I said, the smaller teams, they have their 2 cars ready to roll in the truck when they get out there.
Well, y'all stayed at Phoenix and switched your cars around and everything, and then went to Vegas, or did y'all wait till you got to Vegas to switch them?
We waited till we got to Vegas. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is really good about the teams, and they actually opened the garage area up for us the Monday before the Vegas race, and the garage is actually open Monday through Wednesday if you want to stay there and work on your car. So basically, after Phoenix, the trucks loaded up and drove to Las Vegas and got set up in the infield starting on Monday. And I was out there, and the guys were all out there getting our Las Vegas primary car ready to roll.
That's a tough deal to have to do all that.
Now, Hal, I noticed this weekend, I looked at the Bristol entry list. If I'm not mistaken, there are only 4 full-time Cup drivers entered in the Saturday race. A year ago, there were 8. Do you have any idea why the Cup drivers are not racing this weekend at Bristol? Is it a fact that they don't want to? They may not want to do a lot of laps with a Nationwide car with the new Gen 6 Cup car the next day, or I mean, I'm just wondering why there's so few Cup drivers entered on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I really don't know. Never really thought about it, to be honest. I mean, as to why they're not racing this weekend, not as many of them are. I mean, track time is track time to me. I mean, me personally, anytime I can get on a racetrack, whether it's in a Cup car, an extra-wide car, a Volkswagen, it doesn't matter. I would take advantage of it. So I'm really not sure why they're not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if the current nationwide cars, whether they be Camaro, Mustang, or whatever, were so dramatically different this year from what this year's Cup cars are that they don't want to maybe get used to one thing, then the next day have to kind of get used to their Cup car again. So.
Yeah, I don't think that's the reason. Because,
Okay.
I mean, we've had a lot of Cup drivers racing in the nationwide race, the first 3 races of the year, especially Phoenix and Vegas. So I don't see that being an issue. But like I said, I have no guesses on that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is a forensic engineer?
That's it's very interesting that you ask. I mean, for those that don't know, I am a mechanical engineer. I graduated in 2009 from the University of New Orleans, and actually went to work as a forensic engineer for about a year and a half after school before I started racing full time. When I was still racing part time back then, and basically a forensic engineer, for people that are familiar with CSI, TV show, and they figure out why people die. And try and solve that mystery. We try and figure out, forensic engineers try and figure out why things die or why machinery fails. So it's basically the best way I can get people to understand what a forensic engineer does. Basically take engineering and implement it into a failure, whether it be a crane failure or a mechanism, or I've done some accident reconstruction work. That's something else that we do as forensic engineers. So it's a very interesting field. I had a lot of fun with it, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to it one day after all this racing stuff is all said and done years later.
So if I brought you a laptop that didn't work, you could figure out maybe why it didn't work.
I don't know about all that.
That's why you bring it to me, Al.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, a serious question on that same, does that help you at all racing? I mean, are you able to backtrack from a failure to figure out, what caused it?
Absolutely. I've actually been in that scenario a couple of years ago, and I won't say what I was racing, but a couple of years ago we did have a failure, and I was able to kind of get in there after the race and take a look at the car and the part that actually failed. And we had teammates that were also racing, and they were racing at a similar track in a few weeks, and basically we figured out the problem, and we're able to basically say, okay,
Jackson.
well,
Okay.
this is the flaw, and this is what we need to correct. So,
I'm not calling
I mean, it actually does apply.
He said he'll call you back.
I'm not sure if you ever heard this story, but back when Bill Elliott and Ernie were basically kicking everybody in NASCAR, the Elliott family would go home after a 500-mile race, and Ernie would put that race engine as it was on a dynamometer, and he would run it until it broke. And he wanted to figure out where was the breaking point. 500 miles might not be it, but Ernie would run that engine at regular race RPMs until something broke, and then the next time he built a motor, he'd be sure that part was strengthened maybe more than he had strengthened it the first time. So he did what you did. He started backward from a failure and kept going until it broke, and then he made sure that part didn't break again. And that's why they hardly ever had an engine failure.
Those are the early days of research and development, I guess, huh?
Yeah, but see, NASCAR now takes motors, and I guess they tear them down. And I guess you can put them back together and test them again. But that was when Ernie Elliott used to make motors that hardly ever broke. But he would run them on a dyno the Monday or Tuesday after a race until they broke, to find out what was the weakest point in that motor. So that's kind of what you did.
Yeah, basically the same thing. It's just a little bit different. And like I said, that's more on the research and development side, I guess. But just to find out exactly how far you can push that engine or how many miles you can put on it before you actually have a failure, and beef up that part that did give you that failure.
Well, do you guys build your own engines over there at TriStar?
Yeah, at TriStar, well, it's, Mark Smith is our team owner at TriStar Motorsports, and he also owns Pro Motor Engineering Engines. PME is what it's commonly referred to as the engine company. And so, yes, he builds, we build our own engines. Like I said, team owner, same owner.
All right. Who is your spotter this year?
My spotter this year is
Yeah.
Mark Herman Jr.
Okay. Okay. Now you know Kelly then, Kelly Kent.
Yes, sir. I sure do.
Okay. She's a good friend of mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got Herm. Herm is eyes in the sky. He does a great job. I've worked with Herm in the past. And, I was really excited to have the chance to get reunited with him this year, with his cup deal that he had. Obviously, we can take advantage of that on the companion weekends. So, really excited to have Herm back on board. We get along really great. He's great. We have great communication.
They say he's one of the best spotters they got.
Absolutely. I if I could get him for myself, for whatever reason, I'd recommend him to anybody. But I'm greedy. I want him in the sky for me.
Now, Bristol this weekend. Wait a minute, Roger's pointing at me.
No, I just going to say, anytime you're ready to wrap up.
Oh, okay. Tell us about your sponsors. Give us a little, give your folks a plug, Hal, leading into Bristol, and mention as many as you'd like to so we can give them some airtime.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our primary sponsor is American Custom Yacht. They're a yacht company based down in Stewart, Florida, and they basically do anything having to do with boats. They do customizations. They build yachts from the ground up. They have a big storage yard down there. So if there's anybody out there looking to either buy a yacht, build a yacht, store a boat, store a yacht, whatever it may be, they're the people to go to. Great family that owns the business, and a great company. As well as, new on board this year, we have Ingersoll Rand, which is a phenomenal company, a worldwide leader in power tools and, amongst other things. But in the racing scene, the power tools that they have that we utilize week in and week out get us to the track. And their air tools are also what we use for pit stops. So Ingersoll Rand, again, another great company we have on board. And then, we have Pool Boom, which is an awesome sponsor, kind of a personal favorite of mine. They make these ice chests that have speakers and sound systems on them. And so we've been rocking out every week when we go to the track with some Pool Boom units. So pretty cool. We have some good guys and gals on board this year with us, helping us out. So we're looking to continue on the streak we're doing and just improve week to week. So, we're excited for the year. Our crew's all upbeat, and we're ready to get to Bristol. Like I said, I'm excited to get to Bristol. It's my first time racing there. I've watched races there, but I've never been in the inside of the track. So I'm really excited to get there and rub some fenders this weekend.
Oh, you're going to have fun. You will have fun being a first-timer.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Listen, thanks for calling in. Glad to have you on the show.
Sir.
We'll be watching you at Bristol this weekend, and then we'll be watching you next weekend at Fontana, and, there we go. The season just getting rolling now.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. Thank y'all very much for having me on, as always, and look forward to going on the track and seeing what we got.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Now push line 2 and then the speaker.
Let's talk racing. How you doing, Mr. Enfinger?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
All right, the Mobile 200 winner from ARCA. How's everything going since you won that race?
Oh man, it's been great. It's a great feeling. We've been so close so many times, and we're able to look y'all for that in the hometown, in front of the playing friends that can't normally make it to these ARCA races. It just is a little overwhelming. So we're still on cloud 9 here.
Well, that's good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you've been.
I'm Grant Enfinger, and I'm from near the Mobile Mobile, Alabama area, about 45 minutes away, and grew up around the area. And just then I guess started off with myself. I started running go-karts and legends cars and late models, and when I graduated college, here to Charlotte, and trying to do the ARCA stuff and the truck stuff as much as we can. And I got a great opportunity this year for 10 races with Team DCR, with K-Side Motor Honey as a sponsor to really show what we have. And like I said, we were able to put it in victory lane on Saturday.
Now, that was the second ARCA race of the year, correct?
Yep. We ended up we broke a rear end in Daytona, but we qualified 6th down there. Had a really fast car down in Daytona, and I was disappointed from that. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, go out there and pretty much have a controlling victory there at Mobile.
Now, when do y'all race again?
The series race, April 28th in Salem, is the next race, and I will race Talladega May the 3rd will be my next one.
Oh, okay. You know, I've often said on this program, we've had, I think we had Bobby Gerhardt on a couple of 3 weeks ago,
yeah.
And I pointed out that of all the racing series in America, all the stock car series, that ARCA probably crowns a more deserving champion than anybody, because you run on racetracks that are so diverse, from Daytona and Talladega to short tracks, high bank short tracks, dirt tracks, almost everything. It's been said that an ARCA champion probably is a more versatile driver than a Cup champion. I assume you probably agree with that.
Absolutely. You know, as far as versatility, there's nothing like the ARCA series. So I was fortunate enough to be able to run full time for Allgaier Motorsports in 2011, and did a few things I've never done before. We raced on a mile-long flat dirt racetrack in DeQuoin, Illinois, and Springfield, Illinois, and then we turn around. We go to the road course, which I had never done, and then you go to tracks like Chester and Salem. And then you go to tracks like Pocono. It's unbelievably diverse, and it takes a lot on the teams and the drivers too to make that whole deal successful. It's hard for a person that is in a road course to go out there and run, and again, vice versa.
I think the last NASCAR Cup dirt race was early '70s in Raleigh. They're going to run trucks at Eldora this year, but ARCA, to my reckoning and some research, ARCA has always included dirt tracks on their schedule, whether Springfield or Salem. Well, Salem, I guess, is a paved track, isn't it? But
Salem is a paved track like Bristol,
but Springfield and DeQuoin are both long dirt tracks, aren't they?
Mile-long, flat, zero banking dirt tracks, and I think more than anything, ARCA wants to stay true to the roots, and that's where the racing came from, and that's what they feel like is right, and it's not because of any other reason that they feel like that's a true racing, and that's what this series is all about. So you better be able to adapt pretty quickly if you want to run an ARCA series.
How long did it take you to adapt to Springfield and DeQuoin? A long, skinny mile. How long did it take you to?
I'm not sure if I adapted quick enough. We raced Springfield, Illinois the first time. We ended up finishing 10th there. That was my first dirt race. We went to DeQuoin after that, and I was able to qualify 4th there, and feel like we ran a good race. To be honest with you, I can't remember where we finished, but I felt like I actually was learning to do it by the time we got to DeQuoin. So, the whole weekend of Springfield, I feel like I was definitely the weak link for the team. But by the time we got to DeQuoin, I felt like I halfway got the hang out of it. And like I said, that wasn't the only time I was in an experience that I've never been in before. I've never been on the road course, and man, that was definitely different for me.
Now, sometimes these races are back to back in that you might run a dirt track race one weekend, and maybe go to a speedway or super speedway paved track the next weekend. You have to learn to put one experience out of your mind and go straight to the other, or is it easier to have a week or two between those kind of races?
Me personally, I like to have a little bit of time in between the races to kind of get my mindset back right on. All right, now, well, what are we going through this week? And kind of, while we're working on the car, have a little time to mentally focus on what I need to do too. But yeah, not all of them are like that. So sometimes you will run on DeCoy on a Monday, and I think on the schedule you turn around and go to Chicago on Thursday or Friday of that week. So as a team, you have to be really, really prepared with the diverse, the diversity in the setups and the diversity in the cars and everything else. It's a really tough schedule to keep on top of. When you're working on a mile-and-a-half cars, you also got to be working on dirt cars and road course cars and everything else. So, tell you what, the guys I'm with at Team DCR, they do a really good job of preparing everything. And like I said, I'm really blessed to be an opportunity I am right now.
So, are you you're not running the full series this year? You're doing selected races?
Yep. We're running the 10 TV races, and we're also able to put the Mobile race on top of that because it is a local race for me where I'm from. So as of right now, we got 11 races scheduled, and hopefully we can add on to that schedule a little bit. But like I said, really blessed to be with a group of guys I am at Team DCR, and I have great marketing partners like K-Site, Motor Honey, and Triple K Construction that was on the car this week in Mobile.
So you know my friend Rick Crawford, I bet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Rick has been a mentor to me for quite some time. So I met him while I was still racing go-karts and when he was with Circle Bar and all that. Those guys helped me a lot when we started out our ARCA venture, and that was the first person I met with when I moved to North Carolina. He took me out to supper, and I've got a lot of respect for Rick Crawford.
5 or 6 years ago, or maybe longer, I forget, they all run together, I took Rick and a couple of other drivers out to the USS George Washington aircraft carrier, and we flew out of Norfolk on a Navy plane, landed on the deck of this aircraft carrier, spent the day, spent overnight, watched them do takeoffs and landings, watched them do nighttime landings and takeoffs, met the crew, ate in the Admiral's dining room. They call it mess, I believe. And anyway, the next day we got shot off the deck back to Norfolk. So next time you see Rick, ask him about riding aircraft carriers. And I think that he told me one day that was one of the highlights of his life, to be able to be out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and realize that these young men, way younger than either he or I, way younger, were landing these multi-million-dollar airplanes at night and taking off like leaving a parking lot. So next time you see Rick, ask him about riding the aircraft carrier, and he'll break out into a big smile and tell you a good story about it.
I definitely will. So it sounds like an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, we had a big time.
So with the truck series going to Eldora, you got any hopes of trying to get a truck and go to Eldora and do the dirt race?
I don't think I'll be running there. Like I said, my first dirt race was in 2011 at DeCoy. So I don't think I'll be making the trip there in the truck series. So I'm hoping I get to be there and maybe go out there and help a team or something. So I really feel like that's going to be an awesome experience. And I think NASCAR is, finally getting the picture that they do need to get back to their roots a little bit. And I think it's a great step for the truck series and NASCAR as a whole to have, at least say they're going to a dirt race. I think that's a great thing for all the grassroots fans and everybody that's grown up with this stuff. I think it's something that's needed to be on the schedule for a long time.
And this is my last question, and I'll let other guys take over. I always say that, and I never do end up.
Your last question will be at the end of the show.
Yeah, I know it. Grant, do you have any sort of secret timetable, or have you written down on a little notepad that by the end of 2013 you want to be here, there, other ways, and by the 2014 you want to be running a cup race or two? I mean, do you have a career timetable that you're trying to meet?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I started out when I moved to Charlotte. I had everything listed. This is what I need to do, and this is when I need to do it by. And unfortunately, this sport is in some ways it's really it's difficult to plan your own destiny unless you just have a really big checkbook. So unfortunately, I'm not one of those guys that can bring money to the places I go. So I work in the shop and I work with the teams, and I try to work with their marketing guys to do everything we can to get good marketing partners like Site Motor Honey and Triple K Construction. But that's something that's very money driven, and you're kind of at the mercy of everybody else to do that. And unless you're under contract with a really big name like Roush or Penske or something like that, if you want to schedule like that, you check this behind you.
Well, I know it's a different time and a different era, but I will remind you of a driver who had a pretty good career that didn't really start until he was in his mid-30s. Now, that may not happen this day and age, but Harry Gant was not anybody to be. Harry Gant was not a great Cup driver until he was in his mid-30s, maybe later, and he had a pretty good career. So, don't make that timetable too tight. Always leave yourself an out or two, and who knows? You got to be at the right place at the right time. All it takes is one person to see you, and that one person says, "Hey, let's give this kid a chance." Then you're on your way.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. And I tell you what, for as long as I can remember, I've wanted to make a living driving race cars and being in Charlotte and it's for a living. And you know what? That's what I'm doing right now. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years. And I tell you what, if that next big opportunity happens, that'd be unbelievable. And if nothing else happens, I tell you what, I've been truly blessed to be in the positions I am and to have the opportunities I've had. So, and I've been fortunate enough to meet some great people, and it's really been a blast.
Just don't give up.
Oh, absolutely never. So, I tell you what, this ARCA win in Mobile didn't come easy. So, like we were knocking on the door for 3 or 4 years here in the ARCA series, and you with seconds and thirds, and just you can't ever give up. So, we would have missed a good one here this week if we had.
All right, well, it's been good talking to you, and hope you have a good rest of the season, and keep us abreast of what's going on.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me on the show.
Hey, one more thing, Grant. You still there?
Absolutely.
Roll Tide. You must be an Auburn fan.
Oh, no. So, I was raised with standards, so we got to be for the Tide.
There you go. Roll Tide. My friend Eli Gold does that every time I call him. That's how Eli hangs up the phone. He'll say, Roll Tide. All right, Grant, thanks so much. Take care of yourself.
All right, thank y'all.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Well, that was good. He gets so enthralled he forgets.
I know, I was listening.
All right, let's go.
That was the checkered flag, by the way.
Oh, okay.
You can stop now.
All right, let's go eat.
Quick.
He was actually Mr. September.
Well, the person that was texting me, he'll hear that from
He
me.
won 4 in a row in September and was leading the 5th one on the last Sunday in September many years ago when he had a problem at North Wilkesboro. But he won Darlington, Richmond, Dover, and I think Martinsville right in a row, and was leading Wilkesboro. So, anyway, and Harry does the motorcycle ride.
Yeah.
So there.
Good. And of course, Tia Norfleet, we Well, we talked about that, but
Oh,
it
we
wasn't on
don't
the air.
need to talk
Don't even
about
want to
her.
give them out. Shame on her. Everybody should know she's really screwed the pooch. Anyway, Let's Talk Racing is going to get done now. We're going to go eat, Mr. Al.
We are.
Everybody, thanks for joining us. We will catch you next week. Bye. See ya. But before I hit that.
Hey guys, I'm Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bain, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, I'm Robert Richardson Jr., driver of the number 23 Dodge Challenger for R3 Motorsports in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, and you're watching Let's Talk Racing.
I'm Tony Stewart, driver of the number 17 Toyota NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, and you're listening to Let's Talk Racing.
Here's your 2011 champion, David Brehm.
Hi, this is David Polens, driver of the 33 NASCAR Late Model, 2011 Old Dominion Speedway Track Champion. Thank you for watching Let's Talk Racing TV.
I'm Sam Hunt, driver the 42 car. I want to thank Let's Talk Racing.
Hi, my name is Natalie Sather. I drive the 94 K&N Lady Eagle Safety Wear